Well, good morning or good afternoon or good evening, my lovely students, whenever you're listening to this. Welcome to the second semester. Welcome to our topic here, which is Europe in between World War I and World War II. I mean, we have to be able to figure out why the character like Adolf Hitler came about. I mean, come on, man. That's an important question. So we're going to try to lay the groundwork for that today, and then we're going to try to delve into that question in great detail during the next couple weeks. But first of all, I want to give you just a little background information on how this conflict evolved. How's that? All right, check it out. The first contributor was something called political turmoil. And by turmoil, I just mean upheaval. Like things are messed up. And in this case, we're looking at it from a political standpoint, and there were two aspects of this. First of all, we spent a lot of time last semester talking about imperialism. Well, what happened as a result of World War II is World War I, was pretty much all European nations were greatly weakened by that conflict. I mean, Germany certainly was. France was too. France and Britain won the conflict but came out weaker. Russia was in the midst of the communist revolution, so all these countries were weaker. Now, the people who lived in colonies saw this as a time, as an opportunity for them to maybe rebel. And so there was a lot of political unrest in colonies. Now, does anybody know who this character is right here? No, it's not Mr. Sturtevant. Kind of looks like Mr. Sturtevant. It's Mahatma Gandhi, who is responsible for Indian independence and one of the primary topics during this semester, people. So there's this problem in the colonies. But there were also two large empires that were destroyed as a result of World War I, the Austria-Hungarian Empire and the Ottoman Empire. Now, if we zoom in here on the Austria-Hungarian Empire, this would be what it looked like. The red like outline here was what it was in 1913 prior to World War I. And then afterwards, it was just divided up into all these different countries. Look how small Austria became and Hungary became. Solid. Now, the other country or the other empire was the Ottoman Empire, which was also part of World War I. It was headquartered in the modern nation of Turkey, and it included all this territory here. Basically, Turkey was just this after World War I, so it was decimated as well. It's kind of interesting. It was an Islamic empire. So there was political turmoil. But let's go a little further with this. There was also social and political turmoil. And I love this guy's face here. This black, like, uptight, upset face. Now, one of the biggest contributors to Adolf Hitler was this concept of ethnic minorities. Now here in the United States, we think of ethnic group. An ethnic group is some type of identification based on language or race or religion. We primarily think in terms of race here in the United States because that's the way our history is unfolded. In Europe, people think primarily of language groups. When someone says, I am a German, it's because they speak German. They could be from Austria or they could be from Germany. But they speak German, hence they are a German. When someone is French, they speak French. So, you might say, well, I'm an American because I speak American. Well, all right, fine, thanks. But Europe is a small area with lots and lots of different ethnic groups based on language, and every one of these ethnic groups wants to have its own country. Okay, I got that. But now let's go ahead and let's zoom in to Germany in 1938, or to Europe in 1938, and you're going to see that Germany lost a lot of territory as a result of WW1, and there were some Germans, look at this Polish corridor right here, that were no longer in Germany, that were part of other countries. This is the Polish corridor right here, and this is a portion of Czechoslovakia called the Sudetenland. The majority of people who live there are German speakers. Now, imagine if in the United States got into a war, and New Mexico and Texas and California and Arizona were just cut off and put back into Mexico. Well, there'd be a lot of people who live in those territories that'd be upset about that and would want to go back to the United States. The same thing is true in Germany. One of Hitler's big motivations was to return ethnic Germans back to the fatherland, Germany. Now, something else that was important for Hitler is this interesting German word called Lebensraum. Sorry, when I say like German words, I feel like I have to scream them in an aggressive manner. Anybody have any clue on Lebensraum, you German speakers? Some of you are German speakers. It means living space. So not only did Hitler want to return ethnic Germans back to Germany, he also wanted to create living space for German people so they could move there and settle there. And hallelujah. Okay, the other big factor in the war, besides ethnic minorities, besides political unrest, was economic depression. Now, the economic depression hit here in 1929, and it hit especially hard in Europe, especially hard in Germany, where unemployment was up around a third of the population, about 33%. Right here in the United States, it's about 5%. So imagine 33%. Inflation is the concept that prices go up faster than wages go up. So your purchasing power goes down. Your ability to buy things goes down. Something that you haven't had in your entire young lives is inflation. Be grateful for that. In Germany, inflation got so bad that you had to spend your paycheck immediately before it lost a lot of its value. It was in the hundreds of percent. So in other words, prices were going up about 100% a year. Now, something else that was a major factor in the era between the wars and anger in Germany and have them turn to someone like Hitler are the provisions of the Treaty of Versailles, which punished Germany severely. If you remember last semester, that war, saying that Germany was at fault for that war just doesn't seem fair. Everybody seemed to be at fault. But nonetheless, Germany had to accept war guilt, which was a tremendous psychological blow, and they felt was grossly unfair. They had to pay damages to France and Britain. Huge payments of cash to these countries to repair their countries while Germany still needed repaired as well. So the Germans thought that was grossly unfair. They lost a lot of land and their overseas colonies. And also their military was dramatically shrunk. So these four things put together, these were really hard to take for most Germans. And most people thought in Germany that they were treated very unfairly after World War I. The United States gave in to these ideas because of this thing called the League of Nations that was created that was seen as a way to prevent future wars, but it's not going to work, people. Daggone it. Now, I bet there's been times when you felt desperate. There's been times when I felt desperate. Maybe you felt like you were in danger. Maybe you felt, just threatened by something or tremendously anxious. Sometimes in those desperate situations, you might turn to a desperate solution. People do it all the time. Well, Germans felt desperate in between World War I and World War II. So there's this one guy called Adolf Hitler that's saying, hey, the Treaty of Versailles, unfair. It was not Germany's fault. And people were like, okay, man, that makes sense. So when people get desperate, they turn to someone who they wouldn't turn to in ordinary times. And people, that's a simplistic explanation as why people turn to Adolf Hitler. Okay, get ready. We're going to talk more about this over the next couple